Hello, I am Umbrenero, and welcome to Umbrenero's Life. Today's video is my March 2023 Plan With Me. So the first area I worked on was my monthly calendar like I usually do. And this month, it took me quite a while to get the monthly calendar done because I had some difficult lettering I was going to do. I believe it took me about 35 to 40 minutes to do the entire calendar and front page because I wanted to go for a gothic theme for this month. And I looked around and I found a font that I really liked, but I could not easily handwrite it. So I did print off the letters I was going to need and made templates that I had traced onto my paper to make it go a little bit faster. And when I say a little bit faster, it was probably like only 5 minutes faster. But this theme was different. It's a theme I do want to try again. Maybe I'll go with a slightly easier font, or I won't go into as much detail with things, which you will see in this video. I did not go the easy route for some areas. Unlike other monthly cover pages and the monthly calendar pages, I did the title labeling of the month before I did any decorating or drawing of my calendar. I think the easiest part of the entire monthly cover page was doing the boxes here, because they didn't need to be perfect, and I was exhausted when I did this because this was done when I was in the middle of my burnout earlier this year, and I'm recording the audio for this in October. And I'm finally starting to catch up on these videos that have been sitting for months at this point, waiting to be completed. I quickly did the numbering of all the days of the month because I, at this point, realized I really wasn't going to be using this monthly spread, but I was going to attempt to with when I was getting it done. So I just figured I would do this to make it quick and easy. And here is where some of my mistakes started coming. Since I was doing a gothic theme, I wanted to have like that old gothic castle-like background. So I was trying to figure out how to make brick-like color using my distress inks. And it didn't turn out how I was hoping because I didn't have any gray distress ink at this time. And I was just trying to mix colors and see how I could make it look better and it didn't look the best at first. So then this is what took the longest of this entire cover page. Going through and drawing the brick-like pattern the entire way across both of these pages up to the March title. The one part I did like about this cover was the fact that I wasn't being perfect making the lines. And that really did help give the brick texture that I was wanting. So that's probably the only positive I have from how I did this. And I do want to attempt this theme again and give it justice for how it looked and the fact that I didn't really get to use it, because there are some other things that I did without thinking that did not help this theme at all. So at some point my camera did die and I started going through and adding a gray color to the brick wall in the background to try to make it look more like a brick wall using a marker I had. And it helped a lot when I was only putting it on one side of the brick and not both. But that's something I learned from trial and error. And then it was just adding in my key, and I used some colors that I thought would look okay together in a stained glass style, which has been in gothic castles and gothic things like that. So next was my monthly log that ended up never getting used. And the amount of detail I put into dividing these two pages here, it took another half hour to actually do. And that is because I tried to make them look like a stained glass type of divider, And it just took a long time to actually do this. Like, this is something that I would have changed on the spread looking back at it now. But no, this is where I was going to write down things that were going on in the month, things that I needed to take care of in the month. But it never got used because I ended up making this spread way too late to actually use it. So one of the problems with this page is that the colors I chose to use here were all on the darker end. Like, there was no real light colors to help break up all of the darkness, which happens. And despite it looking like the same color on the top and in the middles, those are two different colors, and it just became very dark and didn't have as much dimension as I was hoping for. But you don't know these things until you give it a try and see what happens. Something that I've been saying this year is I'm not trying to be perfect, and this is a perfect example of not being perfect, because when I recorded this, I was trying to do this as perfectly as I could, so that way I didn't have any issues and I might get out of my mental funk, but it didn't work. So now I went on to my goals / to do and my book / audiobook tracker. So this was before I even had a reading journal, which I still need to finish that video. But this, I started off by doing a stained glass window on my goals and to do page. I didn't want to do what I had done on the previous page again. So I just simply found a neat looking stained glass window and drew up my own version of it to use as decoration. It did take up a lot of space on this page, and it took quite a bit of time with all of the little details that was in it. But it didn't turn out as bad as it could have. Like, these 2 pages are probably my favorite part of this entire spread because I went with the flow and made things look a little better than they could have here. So I obviously focused on the goals and to-do page before anything else. And I'm glad I did, because that is what brought all of the color into this spread. So I was still going with the stained glass thought, and I brought my colors back, and I tried to use primarily the brighter of the colors to make this look a little neater. And I think it worked here because it wasn't like a big bold line going across both pages. But nope, this was supposed to be my goals and to-do page, which never got utilized, and I wish I could have. But by the time I got done doing all of my decorations here, I didn't have much space left to utilize. So the next area I moved on to was my book and audiobook tracker. And I wanted to bring back that brick-like layout. And this took a while, but instead of adding a bunch of unneeded color, I just went with drawing, and I wanted it to look like it was in a dungeon slightly. So I added little more detail with some of the bricks, and I did eventually add the gray back in there, but I didn't even take the time to label what each of these sections was supposed to hold. And what doesn't get shown is on the goals and to-do page, I ended up adding more of that brick-like look around the stained glass window, so only about a third of the page was usable. But this was me trying to draw that gothic theme back into these pages, and it worked a little bit, but this was still probably my favorite part of this whole spread that I did because of how it actually gave that gothic feel. So then I ended up working on my weekly log, which was probably it wasn't done well. I will just put it at that. All I did was I divided each page into 4 equal sections, and I ended up adding some bricks at some point, just hoping I was going to use this spread, but that didn't happen. And by the time I got to the last group of 8 days, I wanted to get color back in, so I did something that didn't even fit the theme, and I made a mistake that did not look the best, but I admit it. When I was adding all of these bricks here, it was all just freehand drawing and just hoping I had them in decent little spots and whatnot. Like, one improvement I would have done here is actually sketched out where I was going to put them in the first place and not have the lines going through and have the bricks kind of be that dividing aspect. So this was where I ended up making a mistake that I did not like. I was trying to get the color for the theme back into it, and I thought, oh, I'll just add some of these squiggles to add the color in and it'll be fine. And it's like, wait, this doesn't fit the gothic theme. Why am I doing this? And I kind of realized it while I was doing these first 4 days and realized, well, I'm going to finish off this page like this so that way it makes some sense, but it wasn't the best, but I admit that. And that's why for the rest of the days, I just simply wrote the date and left it at that. I hope that this theme would have looked better, but it didn't turn out how I wanted. In the future, I want to give it a better attempt. So, thank you for watching, and until next time, I am Umbrenero. Bye!